So sorry for the lack of video for a long time. I've been moving house and setting up a little office. Yay! So that I can actually work in peace and not sit in the house, which is really, really important when you work from home a lot. But I just thought I've been listening to a lot of radio whilst setting this all up and whilst moving house. And the radio station I love to listen to is LBC, which is a London-based radio station, obviously UK-based. And so it's all about the UK call-in, UK discussion. And it's just so weird hearing about the British take on COVID and coronavirus. It's so different to the information we're getting and the media and the press kind of reporting. And people in the UK seem to be genuinely still terrified. Having said that, there's a lot of hypocrisy over there because they'll quite happily all stay in their homes and, not want to leave their homes. But when it's sunny, they'll all go to the pub and the beach and completely disregard social distancing. They'll happily go out to a restaurant, but they won't get on a plane. They'll happily eat food cooked by somebody that they can't see who might have coughed and spat all over the food because they weren't wearing a mask. But they won't sit on a plane where an airline is taking extreme measures to make sure people are social distanced and not sat next to somebody close as they would be in a restaurant, even though they're closing every other table, etc. So it's a weird old environment, but also, they keep showing shock at the fact that the coronavirus is spreading again now that lockdown is lifting. Well, what do you expect? Do they really think that COVID will just disappear because they're hiding in their homes and not leaving and not working and having a nice long holiday in the garden? Do they really think that COVID will just disappear and not come back? I just don't get the mentality of these people. Either it's just a lack of education or they're just stupid, because COVID is one of the most distributed viruses, the biggest pandemic we've seen for hundreds of years in the world. It's not going to just go away because it got bored and couldn't find anybody to infect anymore. As soon as you lock down a country, not everybody's going to comply. If you lock down an entire country where people are literally not allowed on the streets, they're not allowed to leave their homes at all, then yes, COVID might disappear eventually. But the reality is that's not happening. And, in the UK, they've got key workers, they've got people who are still allowed to work even through the lockdown, people who are leaving the houses anyway and seeing friends and family, cultures that don't care about limitations and legal requirements because they are very social and just want to see each other anyway. And so, of course, COVID will always spread. And as soon as you lift lockdown, people are out and about, they're stacking the beaches full of, people side by side. They're going out to pubs. I can't believe they've opened pubs before they've reopened schools. That's another thing that shocks me. Kids in the UK, teenagers in the UK, 6 months loss of education now. That is going to have a major impact. I just read today that Scotland have reported that the kids did better than they have for a long time in their results. Well, they didn't take any exams. This is all teacher driven. And, I'm sorry, but teachers never scored me very highly, actually. I always actually superseded expectations or exceeded expectations in my exams because my teachers didn't think much of me, but I actually did better than they thought. So that kind of suggests or demonstrates just how inaccurate teacher grading can be versus kids actually doing the coursework, doing an exam and getting a proper audited score. So I can't believe they've opened the pubs before schools, which is just crazy. And, despite the panic and the scared attitude over in the UK, they're still happy to go for a pub pint every now and then. It's just weird. And yeah, I just don't really get it. So also, whilst cases are plummeting over here, well, forget cases. People talk about cases way too much. It's not about the cases, because cases are only illustrated by testing, and every country is testing differently, some testing more than others, and they're not even testing in the same way. They're not the same tests. So the figures on cases are a little bit irrelevant. The figure to use are deaths, because you can't dispute somebody dying. They've died or they haven't. You could argue that, okay, well, maybe they're not testing people that have died to see whether they did actually die from COVID or not, but I think they're pretty much obligated to for the reason of death. So deaths are the key thing, and in Sweden at the moment, the death rate is plummeting. In the UK, it's going back up. So in Sweden, they've leveled the curve and it's now dropping. In the UK, it's now going back up. If the UK locks down again, it's an absolute farce because the economy is being destroyed. I follow the stock market, and already I see big names like Rolls-Royce just being destroyed by this pandemic. Cinema groups, Cineworld, their stock price has just almost destroyed that organisation. And there are other retail chains that will shut down. And that, of course, in the long term means unemployment. It means redundancies. You know, it's all good saying, oh, we must protect health over the economy. But lockdown is not protecting health. People are going to get COVID, whether you like it or not. Most Brits have probably already had it. And if they haven't, they will get it, because unless they hide in their homes until there's a vaccine available, meanwhile destroying the economy, losing their jobs, losing their houses, and mental health rising dramatically, there's no solution there really. So I really hope the UK doesn't go into another lockdown. If it does, it's just a farce and it's ridiculous. I'm so glad as a Brit living in Sweden to have been living in Sweden through this, because the economy here is the most successful in Europe through this whole crisis at the moment, based on the figures and stats released yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. And I've been able to, get on with my life with my family and keep happy, keep mentally positive, get on with my job. I just can't imagine the state of depression that we would all have been in if we were stuck in our homes in the UK, especially with a toddler. We've got a 3-year-old, he would have been 2.5 at the beginning of the crisis, the pandemic. It would have been hell. And, again, he's been able to carry on going to full school and enjoy his preschooling, which is critical. It's the most critical time when kids learn how to be social and how to interact, and also a little bit of discipline at school as well. For him not to have had that for 6 months, I think will have affected him. And no doubt it will affect millions of kids in the UK who have lost that education. Anyway, I needed this rant today. I've been listening to LBC. I don't call into radio, but I almost was inclined to call in just because of hearing this kind of just ridiculous rhetoric. Luckily, some of the LBC radio hosts agree that lockdown is pointless, and was pointless from the outset because they just didn't do it properly. Anyway, we will see what will happen with the UK, Spain, and other countries now, Australia as well, who since releasing lockdown, no surprise, COVID deaths are rising again. What do you expect? We will see. I think only in probably 5 years can we realistically look back and understand lessons learned. Who got this right, who had the best strategy, and which strategy will be adopted in the future. Anyway, I've been going on for way too long. That's 8 minutes. Bloody hell, I really should not rant so much. Got to get on with my work. Cheers, guys.